Good evening, everyone. William Mean here, 1799. Glad you could drop by. I got a neat little thing here for you. If you like this video, share it, subscribe. Please leave a comment. Remember, First Amendment rights. They're yours. The Bill of Rights belongs to you. I got something here that's pretty interesting. Senator Lou Gorman, I think that's how his name's pronounced, has put a very interesting amendment out there, or I would say resolution. Listen to what this is.
Raising a question of the privileges of the House, whereas on July 22nd, 2020, House Resolution 7573 was brought to the House floor for a vote with the purpose of eliminating 4 specific statues or busts from the United States Capitol, along with all others that include individuals who, quote, served as an officer or voluntarily with the Confederate States of America or the military forces or government of a state while the state was in rebellion against the United States, unquote, yet failed to address the most ever-present historical stigma of the United States Capitol. That is the source that so fervently supported, condoned, and fought for slavery, that was left untouched, but without whom the evil of slavery could never have continued as it did, to such extreme that it is necessary to address here in order for the U.S. House of Representatives to avoid degradation of historical fact and blatant hypocrisy for generations to come. Whereas the Democratic Party platform of 1840, 1844, 1848, 1852, and 1856 states, quote, that Congress has no power under the Constitution to interfere with or control the domestic institutions of the several states, and that such states are the sole and proper judges of everything appertaining to their own affairs, not prohibited by the Constitution, that all efforts of the abolitionists or others made to induce Congress to interfere with questions of slavery are calculated to lead to the most alarming and dangerous consequences, and that all such efforts have an inevitable tendency to diminish the happiness of the people and endanger the stability and permanency of the Union, and ought not to be countenanced by any friend of our political institutions, unquote. Again, from the Democratic Party platform of those years. Whereas the Democratic Party platform of 1856 further declares that new states to the Union should be admitted, quote, with or without domestic slavery as the state may elect, unquote. Whereas the Democratic Party platform of 1856 also resolves that, quote, we recognize the right of the people of all the territories to form a constitution with or without domestic slavery, whereas the Fugitive Slave Law of 1850 penalized officials who did not arrest an alleged runaway slave and made them liable for a fine of $1,000, which is about $28,000 in present-day value. Law enforcement officials everywhere were required to arrest people suspected of being a runaway slave on as little as a claimant's sworn testimony of ownership. The Democratic Party platform of 1860, directly in seeking to uphold the Fugitive Slave Act, states that, quote, the enactments of the state legislatures to defeat the faithful execution of the Fugitive Slave Law are hostile in character, subversive of the Constitution, revolutionary in their effect, unquote. The Democratic Party platform again. Whereas the 14th Amendment giving full citizenship to freed slaves passed in 1868 with 94% Republican support, 0% Democratic support in Congress. The 15th Amendment giving freed slaves the right to vote passed in 1870 with 100% Republican support and 0% Democratic support in Congress. Whereas Democrats systematically suppressed African Americans' right to vote by the specific example in the 1902 Constitution of the state of Virginia, actually disenfranchised about 90% of the black men who still voted at the beginning of the 20th century, and nearly half of the white men, so they suppressed Republican voters as well. The number of eligible African American voters were thereby forcibly reduced from about 147,000 in 1901 to about 10,000 by 1905. That measure was supported almost exclusively by Virginia Democrats. And whereas the Virginia 1902 Constitution was engineered by Carter Glass, the future Democratic U.S. Representative, Senator, and Secretary of Treasury under Democrat President Woodrow Wilson, who proclaimed the goal of the Constitutional Convention as follows, quote, this Democrat exclaimed, quote, discrimination. Why, this is precisely what we propose. That's exactly what this convention was elected for, to discriminate to the very extremity of permissible action under the limits of the federal Constitution with a view toward elimination of every, and I won't use his word, but African American voter who can be gotten rid of legally, unquote, which was said by a Democrat and applauded by his fellow Democrats. Whereas in 1912, Democratic President Woodrow Wilson's administration began a racial segregation policy for U.S. government employees, and by 1914, the Wilson administration Civil Service instituted the requirement a photograph be submitted with each employment application. And whereas the 1924 Democratic National Convention convened in New York City at Madison Square Garden, the convention commonly was known as the Klan Bake due to the overwhelming influence of the Ku Klux Klan in the Democratic Party. And whereas in 1964, the Democratic Party led a 75 calendar day filibuster against the 1964 Civil Rights Act, whereas leading the Democrats in their opposition to civil rights for African Americans was a member of the Democratic Party, Senator Robert Byrd from West Virginia, who was a known recruiter for the Ku Klux Klan. Whereas Democrats enacted and enforced Jim Crow laws and civil codes that forced segregation, restricted freedoms of Black Americans in the United States. Whereas on June 18, 2020, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi ordered the removal from the Capitol portraits of 4 previous speakers of the House who served in the Confederacy, saying that these portraits, quote, set back our nation's work to confront and combat bigotry, unquote. The men depicted in the portraits were Democrat Robert M.T. Hunter, Democrat Howell Cobb, Democrat James L. Orr, and Democrat Charles F. Criss. Resolved that the Speaker of the House of Representatives shall remove any item that names, symbolizes, or mentions any political organization or party that has ever held a public position that supported slavery or the Confederacy from any area within the House wing of the Capitol or any House office building, and shall donate such item or symbol to the Library of Congress. And 2, that any political organization or party that has ever held a public position that supported slavery or the Confederacy shall either change its name or be barred from participation in the House of Representatives. With that, I would yield back.
Interesting, isn't it? Be barred. See, here's the thing to this. The Democratic Party has not changed. I don't call it a party, I call it an organization because they have so much power. But over the years, they've constantly played this game where we'll blame the other side for this or we're going to blame the other side for that. Classic example is when Biden stood in front of Independence Hall with a red backdrop with 2 Marines there. And pretty much said that, you know, MAGA is white supremacy, and MAGA is going to destroy democracy, MAGA is going to do this, and MAGA is going to do that. MAGA is a white supremacist. Stop for a minute now. What do you got here? All right? How many Black Americans, African Americans now, right, support Donald Trump? A whole lot of them. Asian Americans, Latino Americans, right? it's kind of like, this is the ridiculousness that we deal with here. So every time and these people jump up and down, they talk about how the Republican Party or Republicans or those who support the Republicans or support Donald Trump are racist, going to destroy democracy. Really? There's a whole history right there. And the Democrats are great for using people and organizations to get what they want. To climb to power, in other words. You can't make this stuff up. Now, I started researching a lot of this stuff because I want to know how far the Democrats have been playing their little games. Frankly, they've been playing them for a long time. But the problem lies is, again, you are the problem. You want to stop gun control? There's your problem right there. You want to stop all this crazy nonsense? You need to buy an EV or electric vehicle? Problem right there. You want to sit there and deal with this stupid nonsense where your home must be removed of its gas stove, gas heater, oil hot water heater, or etc., etc. Right there. Because they dictate. They write laws, make these into laws. By 2024, you will do this. By 2023, you will do this. By 2026, you will do this. And he keeps saying the right's going to destroy democracy. Who shut down the pipeline, put all those people out of work? Democrats. But they say that the Republicans are going to do it. Right? They turn around and create all this interest rates. Republicans are going to do that. Democrats said, we're not going to do it. Republicans are going to do this. Then he turned around about the school shootings. We need to ban everything. But when we give them the idea, here's the situation. If you can arm your federal, your state, your county buildings, why can't we give the same security to your schools? You got the money. Now you'd rather give it to countries that hate us. Many European countries, also leaders, stated that if Donald Trump has still remained in office, the Ukraine war between Russia will never happen. You can't, it's right there. You can pull it up. And North Korea would be silent. They wouldn't be jumping up and down acting like a bunch of idiots over there. Iran, the situation with Iran would not be what it is now. Taiwan would start getting more of their material that they had already purchased. People will be going back to work in this country. Not sit there and make up lies on how great the economy is because we created 140-something million jobs. Well, a lot of those jobs in October, well, unfortunately, were seasonal. Holidays and right into November. The holidays. And some people getting off of COVID, getting their jobs back. People, you got to lean into these people. You got to. Because they're forever going to try every way they can to stop you. Destroy your rights. Take away your rights from you. Any ways they can. Call them, harass them. I don't harass them, but I mean call them and to put yourself out there. Till then, keep your friends and families close. We'll see you in the next round.